Morning, boss. This week's income from the sponsors has cleared, and we're making good profit against our running costs.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode number 25 today for the Vietnam Grand Prix in Season 2. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Bahrain Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But coming into this episode then, we've got a sponsor renewal on the car, the third and final one. Of course, we don't unlock a fourth sponsor until Team Acclaim level 20, so we're getting towards that. Well, I think we're level 18 there on the top right, so we're only 2 levels away, but that does take a little bit of a while compared to the kind of first level, so probably I would say halfway through the season we'll get to that. But this third sponsor, having looked at everything, honestly the best sponsor I could go with is DSP Optics, because there were some other sponsors where the goals were a little bit higher but the money was also higher, but I just wasn't sure and guaranteed on getting them. Although, to be fair, Cassandra paid out our bonus, but the goal, if you read it, the goal is finishing the race in P4, and we did not do that last episode. It doesn't mean finish P4 in any session. It means finish P4 during a race, unless it just means achieving P4 at some point in a race, but it says the word race. So a lot of you were commenting below saying it might have been because of qualifying, but it says the race. So I don't know what went on there, but I'm not going to risk it with having like a glitch of like the sponsor payout giving us it anyway if we don't get it. So we just go for the safe option, DSP Optics. To be fair, it's a decent payout. It means we have 1.43 million per week anyway, and that's before the bonuses added on, which is about, just over 1 million anyway. So we're going to earn roughly about 2 to 2.5 million per episode, you would kind of say, which is a decent rate, I guess. It means that once we get to that lower level of funds, once we've purchased one more upgrade, which we're going to do now on the HQ, it means we're going to be, maybe waiting 2 or 3 episodes per HQ upgrade. But I guess that's maybe what you'd expect now, getting into the real meat of the career and the kind of, Spec 2 upgrades on the HQ and whatnot. But in terms of the activities timeline, then we've got an invitational event, so that kind of blocks us off a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and choose some sponsor advertisement, a supply HQ tour, and then do some G-Force training for science as well, just to improve a little bit more. Like I mentioned, we'll spend some money now on the HQ. We've got over 10 million, of course, so there's definitely a point to do some spending. But I didn't really feel the need to spend on the aero chassis powertrain, really, because we've got them all at the same level. As it stands right now, we're at a decent point in the tree where we don't need to open up more of the tree, so we don't need to get to spec 3 of anything. And we've got, like I said, we've got all the same upgrades. So instead, I just went for a more of a clever approach and investment of buying the resource point generation on the durability. It's the cheapest resource point generation you get out of all those 4, because of course it's durability, so it doesn't matter that much. I know we've hardly really delved into the durability part of the tree. At the moment, I don't feel the need to, although one of you guys did comment below that we should maybe look into that just to make sure science doesn't get too many penalties later on in the season. So I think once we start to max out the tree on the performance part, I think we definitely will invest some time into durability to make sure things like the gearbox don't wear out and the internal combustion engine and the control electronics. The control electronics were really wearing out quite a lot last season, especially on the back end. I think just riding the curbs and being very aggressive was wearing them out quite a fair bit. So trying to improve that for science, but I think we'll wait till about halfway through the year to get onto that, because we still have to obviously try and keep up with everyone and try and stay on pace with the likes of Red Bull, Racing Point, McLaren and whatnot. But we're going to go ahead now and delve into actual R&D, and you saw there we've just purchased a major drag reduction upgrade. So downforce wise, I think the car's at a decent level. I think we honestly need to just delve into reducing the drag and adding engine power at the same time. We've got those engine upgrades on the way, and so with added drag reduction, that'll be decent, because at the moment I'm having to run the car with quite high wings, so I'd love to maybe reduce the drag so we can still run those higher wings and have the downforce in the corners, but maybe also not get the hit in a straight line, if you know what I mean. But we rushed But we chose to rush the development of that drag reduction update, and in rushing it, we can maybe get it ready in time for the Vietnam Grand Prix. If we didn't rush it, it would come after in time for the next one. So it was worthwhile rushing that one to maybe see how it goes. Obviously, it does increase the failure rate, I know that. And as we come through towards the Vietnam Grand Prix, there it is. Unfortunately, it does fail. So that's the risk we take. I thought it was worth the risk, because if we had that upgrade in for Vietnam, that would have been amazing. That long back straight towards the hairpin would have been great. So unfortunately, do have to spend a bit more R&D points than I want to. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to spend some more R&D points to basically just fix that. But now it comes in guaranteed for the next Grand Prix. But one thing that was positive was both the engine upgrades did come in. The major outright engine power and also the minor ERS kind of harvesting and use of overtake mode. So hopefully during the race, we'll see that. We're able to maybe use that overtake mode a little bit more. And obviously that major engine power, that's a big deal because we're now 4th on the power scale there. McLaren still sits 2nd place there, just ahead of Ferrari, but we're pretty much level pegging, catching up to Ferrari, and we're ahead of our rivals of Racing Point, AlphaTauri. I mean, Red Bull are way down in 2nd last place, so that's very surprising to me that they've not invested in that. But that's great news for us because obviously that's kind of where we were lacking a little bit at the end of the season. I felt the car was quite draggy, so adding engine power will try and hopefully bolster that, and then obviously the drag update next episode will help that even more. But as we go towards this race weekend then, just an interesting thing to know, that Sainz has gone down to now 89, so obviously we have the personnel boosts, which, you know, boosts him, I think, permanently if he's in our team, basically, but the kind of temporary ones where we're training him, we haven't trained him since the first episode, so I think that's why he's gone down 5 points. It was that, you know, we did that 5-day training camp at pre-season, and then we haven't done any training since. We did a little bit of training just now in this episode in the activity timeline with that weight training, but he's gone down 5 points, which is a shame to see. So we don't have the exact same beast we maybe had in the last 2 episodes, but it's still a very highly rated Sainz. I think he's the same rating as like the likes of Sebastian Vettel and Ricciardo in the season right now, so we still got a very, very good teammate on the other side of the garage. And you might have seen there, we just purchased a 1 million upgrade on the personnel just to boost that even more, because I want to make sure that we continue to invest now in the teammate development long term. So just a little 1 million is not that much as well to spend just before we go to the race weekend. The upgrades get confirmed on a car, so now we can get a clear picture of where we stand on the R&D chart. Ferrari really improved. Looks like that's like 2 major upgrades for Ferrari, I would say. So they're really trying to catch Mercedes, which, as I said last episode, is good news for us as just a kind of viewing audience for the AI Championship. But we continue to move on, and now we've moved ahead, technically on paper, of Red Bull and Racing Point, and we're now level pegging pretty much with McLaren, which again emphasizes how surprising McLaren have been. Like, they've been quite poor to say they're still there, technically the 3rd best team in the grid. So they definitely have a lot to show potentially in this Grand Prix in the next few to come, basically. But we continue on trying to beat them and the guys around us. But it will be tough going as we enter qualifying. It is absolutely chucking it down with rain here, so it's going to be a heavy rain start for qualifying. This just made what was already going to be a hard one, because I think Vietnam, it's a new circuit. That means always usually the AI are quite good versus the player, at least versus me. You know, it takes time for me to get used to circuits, but the added spanner in the works is a load of rain, which I already don't like. I don't like these conditions, so this is going to be quite interesting to say the least, I think. So you join us on the first flying lap, tentatively going round. It is really very damp out here. It stopped kind of raining actively. As you can see, the kind of rain's not falling down on the screen, but it's still very damp out there, and the car's just feeling very slow. It's all kind of like driving in slow motion, and so I'm just begging that it maybe dries out. And I think the forecast is it's going to dry out as we go through the day, but at this first stage, getting through into Q2, I'm not taking any risks. Like, I fully am going into this session. I went to this session thinking we could get knocked out if we're not careful here. So, you know, going and filling up the car for a lot of fuel, going for consecutive laps. You can see there I gained 7/10 purely just through 2 corners there because I was so poor in that first run. So the confidence is going up. Purple second sector, so going pretty rapid in the second. Well, that's mostly a straight, so I think maybe that just bodes well for our engine power upgrades potentially. As we now come through the last 2 corners again, still trying to gain some time, lose a little bit on entry, then on exit a lot better. We're up to nearly 1.2 seconds gain through the last corner, even more, 1.3, 1.4, 5 even seconds nearly, and we're up into P8, and that will secure us our Q2 spot there in P8. Sainz in P5, so thankfully we're both through. That was a real worry for me of how the car was going to also be in the wet, because I know the car's been decent so far in the dry conditions, but you just never know. It could be quite a bad car in the wet, but thankfully not. Sainz makes it through, so we're both through, so that's calamity averted in that kind of sense. But now we're going through into Q2, which is still going to be, I think, intermediate at least conditions, so that's going to be a worry as well.
Right, we've lost telemetry. We've lost pretty much all sensor information. It's being looked into now, so just bear with it for a few minutes if you can, please.
So to add another spanner in the works, we've got a sensor fault at the start of this session. But it won't matter too much because, of course, the track is getting drier as we're going through the session, so it could have been a lot worse if it was the other way around, essentially. So we can afford to wait a few minutes and then go out in the middle of the session. So our first flyer here, at its stands, you can see it's a lot less standing water, a little bit less spray on the tyres, but still pretty wet out there, and the car still feeling very nervy on traction. We're up into P5 now as it stands, but as we go on through to the end of this session, then we're out for another flyer. We're down to P8. Sainz has put it up into P7, so we are quite close to the cutoff period there, because Norris is only 2 places down from that cutoff in Q2, so having to go out again. We gained about 4 tenths in this last sector, didn't gain too much in the first 2 sectors, and now we've made a mistake there, got way too hot and ambitious into the second last corner, lost all the time I gained. We still gained some time on the entry to the last corner, but then lose it again, and so we hardly improve our lap time, and so just waiting to see where we are, and it's thankfully going to be P7. Thank God for that. Even that a few hundredths of an improvement put us ahead of Sainz, actually, so it still actually mattered in the end, but that's how close it was for the cutoff window. You can see it's only 1/10 in it, and we would have been out in Q2, so thankfully, thank our lucky stars, myself and Sainz are both through into the top 10 shootout, and the top 10 shootout will be dry. So we've really been put through the paces in terms of the car itself, how it handles every condition, you know, full wet, intermediates, and now dry, but this is going to be an interesting top 10 shootout because it's the first time now we're all going out on the low fuel in quali mode, basically, and giving it some real anger. And at least for me, because I was you have to be so tentative in the inters and wet period, I felt like I was holding back a little bit of how aggressive I was being in some of these corners. You can see also just getting a little bit wrong there, making a huge mistake in the last corner, holding up the Red Bull as we swing through the last corner. Then a lot of understeer that was actually, but also just getting way too, I don't know, just thinking I can brake a lot later to that corner there, so I have to ring that in. But as we now swing through, the sun is out on this last 2 minutes of the top 10 shootout. Sainz at the moment is in P6, I'm in P10, so we need to improve quite a fair bit, and we're only 2 tenths up, 3 tenths up as we enter the last sector, the aggressive, real, slinger of a sector where you're just going left and right constantly, and we're being very aggressive here and gaining some time up to now maybe 6 tenths gain through the last corner. We'll gain a decent amount of time, I should say, because we made that massive mistake, and we're going to go up to nearly 9 tenths to 1 second gain there as we cross the line. DRS open, 1 second gain. Surely that's going to be a decent time, and it's only enough for P9 to my surprise. I was really absolutely gobsmacked that was only P9 after gaining 1 second, but that's how slow my lap time was on that first run. Like I said, being a bit too cautious, I guess, and also making that mistake meant that, it lulled me into a false sense of security of gaining 1 second, and so we're in P9. Sainz has out-qualified us for the first time now in the season, up in P6, but the Ferraris look a lot stronger there, and Red Bull, to be fair, Verstappen, to say Red Bull, like I said, are the second worst car on the grid for engine power, for him to be in second place, they must have a very low drag package and must be gaining so much time in that last sector in the corners. So fair play, and that also might make things interesting for once versus the Mercedes cars. But there's going to be no rain for the race, thankfully, so let's just go out there, and we have some making up to do, basically, from P9. Our teammates up in P6, so we have to try and gain those 3 positions minimum back in the Grand Prix, and then see what we can do, hopefully, for another good points finish for both our cars.
Welcome along to the Vietnamese capital of Hanoi, a vibrant city built on the banks of the magnificent Red River. Today it's the backdrop for the latest round of the Formula One World Championship, with a circuit specifically designed to encourage overtaking opportunities. I think we could be in for a cracking race today. It's a track that combines the bespoke design of a traditional race circuit with the tight, close barriers of a street track that our drivers race on today. 23 corners and a total distance of 3.4 miles. Watch out in particular for overtaking into the braking zone at turn 11. Joining me for today's race once again is Anthony Davidson, a new name for an old team. Let's take a look at AlphaTauri. We have a number of changes to the aerodynamic regulations this year, and the signs haven't looked good for them so far in terms of getting to grips with those changes.
There are a few downcast looks within the team this weekend. I think they've been hit fairly hard by the new regs. But this is only the first step down a long road of development, and even if they don't maximise their points today, there are plenty more up for grabs this season.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Leclerc, Sebastian Vettel, and Sainz, Perez, Ricciardo, the owner driver, and Lando Norris, Albon, Ocon, Daniel Kvyat, and Gasly, Russell, Stroll, Antonio Giovinazzi, and Kevin Magnussen, Grosjean, Matsushita, Latifi, and Jack Aitken. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So, in terms of our race strategy, well, we could do a 2-stop. That is available to us. And last season, we did a 1-stop where we went from softs to mediums because we tried that massive gamble that didn't work out to try and get some points. So we won't do that. But what I will do is I will actually go on to the 1-stop. I don't think the 2-stop's going to work around it. I think we can get track position and gain some positions that way. We're down the order from where we want to be. You know, we qualified P4 twice now in the season. Now we're in P9. So to make up those positions and catapult us up, I think doing one less stop is going to be the way to go. And to be fair, last season, if we did put onto a set of hard tyres, that strategy would have worked quite nicely to get us some points. So in this kind of sense, for this season, we're not just aiming for points, of course, we're trying to aim for the top points. So I think a 1-stop onto hard could work out. The only thing will be the tyre wear. It is quite high around here, and the end of the stints might be a bit tricky. But for once, I'm going to favour a bit of a dull 1-stop versus the kind of more aggressive 2-stop. So let's hope it pays out for us. As we now go to 5 red lights. For round number 3 of this season, the Vietnam Grand Prix here in Hanoi from P9 on the grid. 5 red lights are out, and we are underway. A lot of smoke off the tyres of Ricciardo and Perez, trying to see where we can go on the right hand side. Doesn't work out. We're going to switch it to the inside very late on and make it work. Sainz is up into, I think, P4 there as he's on the outside of Leclerc. We're trying to go around the outside of Perez here in the very awkward off-camber right-hander. The blind corner through this right, then the left, and we're going to squeeze out Perez in the AlphaTauri, get up into P8. So all things considered, where we're getting pinched in on the right, we made a decent kind of dart to the left and made it work. But now Perez looking to attack us. We go defensive to the inside there, but we're going to break a little bit later than him and try and just scrub off on the left-hand side and cover that place off. But Sainz, what a start for him, and what a slow start for Hamilton there. He started on the hard tyres, it would seem like. Yeah, he started on the hards. Remember, all of us get a free choice of tyres because it was raining in Q2, so Hamilton's opted for the hard tyre, but that's really not helped him out this early stage where the rest of us are on softs. And now we look to slipstream Ricciardo. We're now side by side with the Aussie man in the Red Bull, using a lot of DRS there down that straight and looking to maybe overtake Hamilton even into the hairpin. It's 3 wide, and this is not going to end well, and Ricciardo's in the wall. Hamilton just not able to get the car turned around. That corner is so tight for 2 cars. 3 wide was never going to work, and Ricciardo's now on the wall. Hamilton's trying to go around our outside, but because we've got the soft tyres, we've got the advantage now on Hamilton. Even the Mercedes car cannot overtake me on hards, because that's the difference of grip you've got on the softs versus those hards. So we're able to squeeze them out and maintain the P7. But this is what happened then with the replay. Hamilton really far left, and I mean, look at how tight that corner is for him. He was never going to make that with the understeer you get in an F1 car in first gear. You know, the turning circle is like a boat of an F1 car, especially the Mercedes. It's such a long car, such a large car. It was never going to work out. And so, well, you're going to see in a second Ricciardo just gets put in the wall, but that was us defending against Hamilton. But this is on board from Ricciardo. So we did a decent job to pull alongside, had the speed, the overspeed on the Red Bull. We're actually side by side with Hamilton, but it's Ricciardo actually who makes himself go on the outside. Like, he wasn't actually there, you know, making it 3 wide until the brake zone. So although I feel bad for Ricciardo, I think he should have seen me and Lewis going side by side and probably should have just, you know, given it up and just given it a rest, basically. So that was a very hectic opening lap and could have been a lot worse. We could have got damage there, but now we have to try and re-overtake Albon because he slipped down the inside of all 3 of us. So Albon made a triple overtake in that hairpin, basically, so kudos. But now we're going for the move on the left. He squeezed us very hard on the inside there. A bit of contact on the right tyre, and he's still there. Look at him go. So Albon, fair play, very aggressive in this race and trying to maintain the position. But in the end, we have too much pace for him there on the exit, and we're up into P6. But at the moment, my teammates, Sainz is up in P4. He was actually in P3 actually earlier because he made a cracking start, but I guess Bottas overtook him. And now Bottas is looking to overtake Leclerc as Vettel now goes around the outside of Sainz, and it's going to be nice and easy there for the Ferrari car. Meanwhile, though, there you go. Leclerc just gets overtaken, so it was Leclerc in second. He's now down to third. Bottas in second. He's on the medium, so both Mercedes cars have chosen a different compound to everyone. This is Verstappen leading the race then, and he's actually flying ahead of Bottas. So, like I said, the Red Bull, it's actually mystifying that it's so quick around here to say that it's the second worst engine on the grid. Like, they really must have, like, all the drag reduction updates in the world on their R&D tree. It'd be quite intriguing to see what it looks like for them. But, yeah, so it's Verstappen from Bottas, Leclerc, Vettel, and you can see clearly here Sainz in P5, and now we're catching up to them. But Bottas on mediums, Hamilton on hards, so the Mercs are trying something different. You know, maybe, I think we're all going to pray pretty much that that alternative strategy, hopefully they get held up in traffic, because if they do, that'll work wonders for everyone to maybe try and gain some points and hopefully have a different race winner for once. Obviously, we've had 2 Bottas wins so far in this season, but at the moment for us, looking to get past Sainz, we're going to slip through down the inside. It's going to be a very smooth operation there on the smooth operator himself, up into P5. DRS will be activated because we're within 1 second of Vettel, but we're using plenty of ERS as well, because of course, remember, we got that upgrade, so we are, I did actually genuinely feel like we could use overtake mode a little bit more on the straights here and there. It's not a massive change, but I definitely could tell I could use it a few more seconds. We were also harvesting a lot more energy every time we were braking, and especially in the sectors where there's so much braking, less kind of just flat out use of the throttle. But now further up the road later into this race there, a few laps later, we've got Leclerc re-overtaking Bottas then, and so this is going to be a bit of a yo-yo effect as these two are so equally matched, it would seem, because the Mercedes, even though it's the much faster car, because it's on the medium tires, the Ferrari's basically equalised to it, and so they're swapping positions left, right and centre. Bottas back through up into second place, all the while Verstappen is pulling away, and we're catching up because these two are side by side, and they're basically slowing each other down and slowing Vettel up, so I'm actually gaining on this entire pack here, and also the tyre wear is kicking in for these guys, and it looks like Vettel's facing a lot more tyre wear than I am, because he comes in very early for lap number 9. Verstappen as well, I think, is in as well on the mini-map there. I think he's in. I can't quite tell. Yeah, I think he's in. So we're up into P3 now. A lap later, Leclerc comes in. We continue on, because remember, we're stretching this stint to lap 11 for the 1 stop. But to be fair, it's quite surprising that it's only a 1 lap difference from the 2 stop to the 1 stop. But here we are, closing up on Bottas with DRS, because we were within 1 second, and no matter how quick you are in the corners, if you have a long straight like that and use enough ERS and DRS, you will overtake them. And we used a lot of ERS, because I just felt, to be honest, I felt nice overtaking Mercedes car. It's not often this season I think we're going to be overtaking them, so it just kind of felt nice to overtake a silver arrow or black arrow in this kind of sense on Bottas. But he's going longer. I would say he's on medium, so I would expect him to go a little bit longer. But yeah, it was surprising that we're literally going only 1 lap longer, and we're now going on to 1 stop, whereas Leclerc and Vettel are going on to 2 stops. So I don't know, in a way that's a little bit worrying in a sense that it's so equalised for that first stint, so maybe the 1 stop isn't as powerful, I don't know, but we're in nonetheless. And actually, hang on, Bottas is in as well. So what's going on here? So somehow I don't know what on earth's going on here. So Mercedes' tyre wear apparently is so bad that Bottas could not go longer than I could on a set of mediums versus my softs. That is very weird. We're now out on a set of hard tyres. Bottas is now onto a set of softs. So Bottas is definitely doing a 2 stop then, for some reason. So Hamilton may be the only guy at the moment in the top kind of cars doing a 1 stop with me, because of course he started on the hard, so there's no way he's going to pit around this lap. But that's very, very odd now. So yeah, Bottas is going to pit again. I'm going to the end, and off the exit out of that corner, I just get a very poor launch, and Bottas, I'm sure he's using a lot of overtake mode, because he waltzes past us with DRS as well. But I don't put up too much of a fight, because there's no point, because I'm going now longer than him, so there's no point fighting any of these guys. We just need to make sure we do the best job we can on these hards. They're going to be a bit disgusting, I'm not going to lie, but we just got to push through it and just try and get that trap position, and then do a lot of defending in this Grand Prix, basically, I think it's going to be. We're in P6 at the moment, so if I can just try and stay within a pit stop window of the guys ahead of me that are all on either softs or mediums, I don't want to jinx it yet, but we have a very good shot of maybe maybe getting our first podium this season. It's going to be tough still because these tyres are just so bad. As you can clearly see, I'm on the steering off the circuit there through that right-hander, and Norris is right up my chuff. Going to have to use some ERS to try and push away a little bit, but I don't want to use too much, of course, because we need to save with that main straight. And up ahead of us, I can just see in the distance, there it is, as we cut on nicely. Good timing to the replay camera as Bottas is on the outside of the right-hander to the inside for the next left and squeezes out Sainz. Sainz on the softs again, so Sainz is definitely doing a two-stop, soft, soft, and medium. And Bottas, I'm guessing Bottas is just doing the opposite. He's going medium and then two sets of soft tyres, which I don't get, but I'm not going to complain about that. But at the moment now, Norris closing up. We're not going to defend this too much because, like I said, there's no point. We're not fighting these guys. I'll lose more time fighting them than I will just letting them through. But I bet, oh, there's a massive crash, and oh, Sainz is round. So Sainz is out the Grand Prix. The full safety car is called out, and Sainz smashed into the wall. That was a huge impact. His right tyre sheared off. He was spewed across the circuit. We nearly T-boned him if we weren't braking for that hairpin. Thankfully he crashed at the hairpin and not later, but oh my god, what an impact that is. That is a very high speed wobble indeed, because they weren't at the brake zone yet, and I'm assuming Sainz had DRS, and he tries to go to the left and just loses the back end. And it's a big hit on the right tyre sheared off, and look how close we were. Even slowing down, I nearly hit Sainz there, because I was just so kind of flustered about what was going on in front of my eyes. So much to look at and to process. But there you go, DRS wide open, closes as he impacts, and then we're very, very close to hitting him, and then he's just spewed there, and that's why the safety car's out, because that's a very dangerous spot to be in. You know, coming in so quick and fast at that corner, but wow, that is a real speedy impact into the wall there. So our teammate is out of Vietnam Grand Prix. Safety car is out here, and that changes the entire Grand Prix, because we're now going to call into boxing this lap, because I had to think on my toes very, very quickly, and I thought, you know what, I've already been on these hard tyres for like 2-3 laps, and they already feel so bad. Doesn't matter how much track position I'll get, and now because of the safety car, it'll bunch us all up. Let's pit on to a set of medium tyres and go to the end, because with 2 laps under the safety car, that'll allow us to elongate that stint. I know we had a massive calamity on medium tyres with tyre at the end of this race last season, but this is different now. We're a lot later into the Grand Prix. We've got a further 2 laps of a safety car, and I thought in terms of actual pure pace, it'll be better. Although my pit crew are very late here, even though I said box in this lap, I don't know why they came in halfway through me getting into the box there, so a bit of a slow stop. We'll be down to, I think, P15, because you can see the Alfa Romeo there on the left-hand side. He's coming down, that's Giovinazzi, I think, and for some reason the game was telling me I had to let him through, even though I'm physically ahead of him on track, but because I'm still exiting the pit lane, I guess, they think that I should be behind him, so I had to let off the throttle and let him through, so that was a bit unfortunate. But we're here in P14 then. We are some way off, I know, even points compared to the lead and a podium or whatever, but obviously we're going to bunch up, and there's going to be a load of these guys up ahead of us that are on their 2-stop still, and they've still got to make a pit stop, because none of them have come in. I've been like one of the few people that's come in for the pit stop under the safety car, so we've got a free pit stop here. We're now on a 2-stop, but the difference is we've already made that second stop, whereas everyone else has to make that. So now, lap 16 on the restart, looking to try and get down the inside. Giovinazzi, who's quite slow. Obviously, the Alfa Romeo a little bit slower than our car here in the R&D terms, so we're able to get a slip down very easily on the same sort of move we made on Sainz, and now looking to try and chase after this man, Daniel Ricciardo, on a set of soft tyres. But remember, he's been on those softs now since, I would say, he made his pit stop. So what's that, lap 10 or lap 11? So they're going to be feeling a little bit worse for wear. And also, remember, technically, we are actually the faster car in this situation. We're ahead of Red Bull in the R&D chart. But as it stands right now, lap 17, 11 laps to go. Stuck in a bit of a DRS strain here, I can't lie, with Ricciardo and Stroll. So I'm just biding my time right now, but at some point I need to try and force the move, basically. And that might just be now on the next lap, 18, as we come through the right, then the left, getting a great entry point. Ricciardo a bit slow, a bit shaky on the rear end, and we send it through on the inside. Very close stuff there. Ricciardo actually gets the elbows out, fair play, and he defends very nicely, so very aggressive the Aussie man is. So we have to actually get back behind him, open up the overtake mode, and also DRS here. And can we make the move on the left or the right? He's going to move to the left to defend, fair play. So we go on the right hand side, so the outside move of the hairpin. Of course, Ricciardo may be a little bit angry of what happened here on lap 1 with me and him and Hamilton, but that I don't feel that was my fault going on the middle of them, and we get it done. No issues there on the outside of the Australian, and so now we can try and get through some of these cars, but also we'll actually get up into P8 because a few people did pit. So now, lap 19, this is when they're making that second stop for their final stint of this race, and also these guys are hitting so much tyre wear. Look at this, going to get down the inside of Stroll very easily, and also get on the back of Russell here on the back straight as well. So we're up into P7, it'll be P6 once we overtake the Alfa Romeo, and there's still all those cars ahead of us. They're all going to make a pit stop still, so let's not talk too early about where we're going to be, but it might be in a very tasty position. Here we go. Overtake easily done on George Russell, the man who had such a fantastic race last time out at Bahrain, beating the likes of Hamilton in an Alfa Romeo, which I didn't really clock at the time, but some of you guys were pointing out that was a very good drive by the young Brit. But now on towards lap 20 with 8 laps to go in this Grand Prix. This is where it gets very interesting. We've got a load of cars in the pit lane. Ricciardo's in behind us, but Hamilton ahead already came in as well. Ocon as well, the McLaren, Leclerc, Bottas and Vettel stay out for one more lap here, but the emphasis is on one more lap as we move through to lap 21. Look at the minimap bottom left. Red and turquoise dot in. Bottas and Vettel will come in, and we're going to lead the Vietnam Grand Prix. We've got 7 laps to go. We are on very warm mediums, I will say. They're already feeling a little bit second-hand, I can't lie, but we're in the lead now. Bottas is in, Vettel's in, and let's just look at the top left. Let's see how things kind of filter out. Leclerc overtakes Bottas, so fair play. The Ferrari is in second right now, only just ahead of Bottas as he comes out the pit lane, I would say. If you look at the top left, yeah, Bottas is there, and he's out now, and he's 9.4 behind us, and that's only 1 second behind Leclerc. So, as it stands, we're about 8 seconds ahead of a Ferrari car, a further 1 second then for the Mercedes. We've got 7 laps to go. It's now just a question of, are they going to be able to gain those 8 seconds in about 7 laps? Unfortunately, the answer is going to be yes. That's how quick the Mercedes annoyingly are right now in our career mode series, and Bottas just flies through us. So, you may have been thinking, guys, at home that, oh, could this be a race win potentially? Unfortunately, it won't be a race win kind of race. It's not meant to be. Our time will come. The race victory, that's going to come eventually. I'm not worried about that. It was a little bit upsetting to be overtaken by the Mercedes cars so quickly and so easily, basically, but there's no point fighting them because they've got so much pace in a straight line and in the corners that, Hamilton overtakes us. I put up a little bit of a fight with DRS, but in the end, he's just going to go and chase Bottas. The real race here is going to be with Leclerc. Can we maintain the P3? Because if I fought the Mercedes cars too much, I wouldn't even have a chance of P3. But can we keep this ahead of the Ferrari? The Ferrari's on fresher mediums that have only been on that car for 8 laps, whereas I've been on these tyres since lap 16. Can we hold out for our very first podium of not only this season, but our entire career mode so far? I'm yet to stand on the podium, and we'll get anywhere near a podium, really, in this series so far, compared to maybe other content creators. So I think in that kind of sense, we've had quite a more realistic career in a sense, but I would like to finally maybe get the chance to do it, and this is the best chance we've had so far, as we're now on the second last lap of the Grand Prix, and Leclerc is closing up, and by the last lap, he's right there within 1 second, 7 tenths. This is it. 1 lap will separate me from a podium, our first podium in the career at Vietnam, of all places. What a place to do it, on the new game, on a new circuit, to get the podium. That'll be pretty cool. But here comes Leclerc. The undulation of the wall there means he can't quite get us in a straight line in the first time of asking, but going into the next right-hander, we're going to go to the inside and let off on purpose and let him through and keep it side by side, just about there, a little bit of contact with the tyres, but we keep it on the outside because I want to be in this position where we just jockey for position, then let off the throttle, nice and easy. This is literally F1 chess being played out right now because I wanted the DRS. We're going to get the DRS now. Use all the overtake mode, everything we've got. It's the last lap, DRS open now, Rich Mix going, we will re-overtake Leclerc, and now it's a case of just defending for the last sector, but now, no, you're kidding me. No.
You'll have to come in so we can try and attempt to fix. Pit in for repairs.
What? Pit it, it's the last lap, Jeff. Oh my, you're kidding me. The DRS is stuck open. In my entire F1 gaming career, I have never had a DRS stuck open. We've had it stuck closed before in a race. I've had it stuck open before in practice, but never in a race. This race has had everything, and now the last sector, we're just trying to skate through and survive for our lives with it open, the rear wing flap, no downforce being produced, or hardly any, but we've had our teammate spectacularly crash out this Grand Prix, safety car, we're in first place fighting the Mercedes cars, and now we come through on the last corner across the line for our very first podium of our entire My Team career, and we did it whilst our DRS was stuck open. We get the driver of the day, I hope so. My word, that race had everything.
Well, they've done a brilliant job, I must say, under some intense pressure to take a well-earned victory here at the Vietnam Grand Prix. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
There it is, the first time we get to see our character and our new team kit overalls on the podium. Although, to be fair, I'm kind of angry at Codemasters. I don't know why this cutscene basically cuts off the entire third driver. I mean, it's like I don't exist on this podium cutscene. It's so pointless. It's really quite upsetting that I didn't get to see my guy on there for longer. But there we go. We get the podium. 15 points in the bag, but that's what a milestone and what a way to do it. What a race. Sainz, massive crash. Safety car. I mean, I even forget we had that 3 wide moment on the opening lap with Ricciardo in the wall as well. And then at the end there, I mean, literally, what are the chances? And mate, we've gotten so lucky in this series, in this career mode save with like driver transfers, how close the AI have been in the midfield fight. And now stuff like this. Why? What has always happened to me? And literally, as soon as I overtook him, the second I overtook Leclerc, the DRS failed in the brake zone. And I think actually Leclerc got some damage, so that's why maybe he was going slow in the last sector, because I had to really slow up, and there was no stopping power because the DRS flap wasn't closing. So I think that's also helped us out a bit, but we got the podium. Wow. I mean, I can't believe it. Of all races, I didn't think it was going to be this race, but there we have it. So we are thoroughly beating Albon in the standings now in terms of the rivalry there. We get a decent amount of acclaim. We're going to get our full $1.31 million bonus there, and we're going to have a total then of 9.18 million. So maybe not enough to spend money next episode, but still looking to save then as we go on through the rest of this first part of the season. But my word, what a race. Our first podium. Guys, smash the like button for that, let alone everything else that happened in that race. If you are new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. Let me know what you thought about that, because my jaw dropped mid-race whilst I was driving when Jeff told me the DRS got stuck open. Absolutely insane stuff. But till the next one, guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.